Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It was very nice to hear from our Prime Minister, from TJ, the speakers, to understand how big is the sports industry in USA, which is close to about 300 to 400 billion. And TJ made one remark, looking at our population of close to 30 million. He said that we should do about 30 billion. Was it in US or Malaysian? US. TJ, I wish we are there. I wish I'll be very rich for sure. Okay, today I'm going to talk on the business strategies in the sports industry, which is very close to my heart and also my bread and butter. Rightfully, I'm just a small player in the market. I think we should have the big boys talking about this business aspect, which is, it's a growing business and it's going to be a big business in Malaysia. Sports industry is a group of business organizations which produces sports products and services where the main objective is profit making. Everybody say I'm a businessman, and sometimes the tag doesn't go along very well. They look at me different. But it is, people must understand that we in Malaysia, sports is growing in a big way in events, and we have some of the big companies sponsoring. So to sponsor an event, or to market an event, or to employ sportsmen, we need to make profit, and that's what we are in the business here today, to make money. We get the money, we make the profit, and we are supposed to plow it back to the society. $1 billion worldwide business that includes manufacturing, designing, packaging, and marketing of sports. I think if what we did was about 10 years ago, when I was the Malaysian Sporting Goods Association president, we wanted to find out what was the figure which the Malaysian sports industry is doing, because we had problem getting statistics. We don't have much of statistics, how much we export or how much we import. So we just did a quick count among all the importers and the importers mostly, and we came up with a figure at that time. The industry value at that time was close to about 2 billion Malaysian dollars. Now this is not inclusive of sports construction, just supply of equipments, and not even involved with events or anything, just equipments itself. It's about 2 billion Malaysian dollars. That's all about 10 years ago. I presume the figure is much higher now. If we include the professional, amateur, and recreational aspect, sports compose a sizable identity, so tightly intertwined that it's often difficult to differentiate the contribution of each component, because we're having quite a bit of problem here. Sports, people always remember is attires, just attires. That's how sports business is always classified, as attires. When they ask me what business you are in, I'm saying I'm in heavy equipment or details. The first thing they come is attires. How much is attire business? So now we have the attire business, we have the equipment business, we have the outdoor business, we have the leisure business. So it's all coming together now. By industry, we need a group of organizations producing products that are close substitute for each other under this definition, what I said earlier. The sports industry is just one component of the larger leisure industry. Today, after Malaysia went 5 days a week some years ago, the leisure and the outdoor industry, which is also sometimes classified as the sports industry, has grown leaps and bounds, and we have seen the business grow by at least 20 to 30% by all the companies in Malaysia. Sports industry in many countries is larger than petroleum, tourism, and transportation. I was reading somewhere that in US, the sports industry is the second biggest contributor to the GDP, which is also much bigger than the petroleum and the transportation industry. I might be wrong, but these are the figures I got. The sporting industry in Malaysia is still a young industry. I'm talking basically on sports business. I'm not talking about sports as an activity, as the sports business. Over the years, we had only small growth in the industry. The biggest growth started when we hosted the 1989 SEA Games. And I think our Prime Minister put it very nicely today. That was the beginning of bigger things that came into the Malaysian sports business industry. And after that, we had SUKMA Games, Commonwealth Games, hosting of World Cups. In respective sports, they hosted their own World Championship. Now, from figures what we get, every time when the SUKMA is held in Malaysia, there's about 200 million spent, 100 to 2 million spent in each state. That's inclusive for facilities, transportation, equipments, which is close to about 10 million. Now that's a lot of money to be spent in every 2 years for the SUKMA. It comprised mainly of small to medium-sized business engaged in a diversity of activities such as wholesale, retailing, sports tourism, construction, to a certain aspect of manufacturing. We still got a bit of manufacturing, but it's not much highlighted in Malaysia. I should take the word out, construction out, because construction of stadiums doesn't come under the sports business, because I think it goes under the Works Ministry. Most companies which are involved with the sport products do not see themselves as a part of a global sport industry. This is what is happening in Malaysia. Most of us who do this business in Malaysia, we don't see ourselves as a global industry due to the little protection we get from the government. I might be hitting on some nerves here. I see the ministers just coming. A major threat to the Malaysian sports industry is competition from foreign brands. I'm going to go on the strategies and expectation. Sports is quite mass here today. We need to provide Malaysians with affordable goods of international standard to make it go into the mass. We have the big players, Nike, Yonex, Wilson, Reebok, Adidas. They have a big presence in Malaysia. But what is important here is we want everybody to experience, each individual starting from the young age to the masses, to have an experience using these good products. But due to the taxes which we have a problem access to these good brands. We want to encourage the manufacturers in Malaysia of acceptable quality sports goods that will bring the desired benefits to the elite sportsmen and the general public. Because most of the manufacturers here, I think they don't have much of a guideline what they are supposed to do in quality and what they're supposed to do in quantity. Prevent dumping of inferior quality goods into Malaysia from neighboring countries. It's sad sometimes to know there's a lot of imitation and fake going on. So we need to control this to grow the industry in a very positive manner. Help our GDP by exporting quality goods to other countries. Now here I have to give an example. Even though so much is spent on sports and so much is bought on equipments, we don't have a local brand where we can be proud of. Surprisingly, we don't have a local brand. And our neighboring country, just above us, Thailand, they have a good brand called FBT, which has been in the market for some time in Thailand. And their turnover is about 200 million Malaysian dollars. That's a local brand, which they make mostly everything a sportsman needs. I wouldn't say it's very high quality, but quality is acceptable by the ASEAN standards. And out of this 200 million, which is produced by them, 20% of their business is export, which is about 40 million Malaysian dollars. Now I wish Malaysia can do something to that extent. We need to create more professional manufacturers, entrepreneurs, marketers, and retailers to support this high-profile industry. Because at this moment, everybody is doing their own role, so it is not well coordinated. To place Malaysia as the most reliable producer of quality sporting goods, we need to, I think, follow on this path. We also have, for local manufacturers, we have competition from foreign brands, which is good as long as it's not fake. Local companies risk losing control of the domestic market, at the same time have problems penetrating foreign markets for some of the goods which is manufactured here. After us coming in the year 2012, and we are not prepared, we will risk losing control of the domestic market to our neighboring countries. I'm talking about one good example is from Thailand, FBT. They have already done their groundwork and now they are quite established to take advantage of this aftermarket. Small companies do not have the benefits and advantages of economy of scale to lower the cost of production. The reason why I'm saying this is because of the purchasing power and due to the small population which we have. So we need some incentives here. Innovation and R&D are a problem because they do not have the means to employ specialists to conduct research and development. This is the biggest problem which we are facing. Even we will face the same problem even if we set up something like FBT here in Malaysia. So we need to bring in foreign expertise to help us out here. Lack of opportunity for networking and developing business alliances. Difficulty in responding to the challenges posed by globalization and creating new markets in foreign markets. To boost the growth of the Malaysian sports industry, this is something is quite important. We need to provide entrepreneur funds. It is still lacking. Small-time businessmen opening up a retail shop or even to get a stand and going to wholesaling, he has problem. If they go to any of the banks, the first thing the banks don't look, I'm quite serious here, the banks don't look at sports business as a profitable business. So most of the entrepreneurs have problems here. We need to lower taxes because at this moment the taxes are still about 30%. So if you want to make it affordable, we need to look at lowering taxes. Lower import duty on raw products to help the manufacturers here. Access to bank loans and soft loans, which I mentioned earlier. It is very difficult for sports retailers, wholesalers, importers, manufacturers to get bank loans in Malaysia. Allowance for convenience of employment expert foreign workers. This will ensure the transfer of technology, knowledge, expertise to our local workers. We need the government to help us ensure all local consumers purchase local quality products. Special allowances for domestic purchase and for tenders for local companies who has invested heavily in manufacturing and retailing and wholesaling. How will the Malaysia benefit if the government were to provide the following incentives? Supply of affordable quality sports goods for the different spectrum of the population. So we can cover all segments of the population. Increase demand of locally manufactured quality sporting goods. We need to make sure as much as we are talking about manufacturing of local sporting goods product, there must be a body to control the quality. That's very important so we can match with the foreign players. Goods of quality will not only last, but provide the correct specification of training activity needs. This is very important if we are going into the developed nation of 2020. We must make sure quality is not compromised. Prevent dumping of cheap sporting goods into the country. If we go to Pasar Malam now, we can get a lot of Nike, Adidas imitation. So we need to do something here to control this dumping. Making Malaysia a home of quality sporting goods. This will increase export earnings and sports tourism. This is what we are talking about GDP, how to help the GDP. So if we have these steps taken, I'm very, very sure it will help our GDP and also in sports tourism. Enhance sales in shopping complexes and sporting stores. We have a Buy Malaysian campaign now. I think maybe my feeling is that since sports is going to be a big industry in Malaysia and our Honourable Minister has said that 2012 is going to be the year of the sporting industry, we need to plan now what we need to do to be there. Maybe what we can consider, the Malaysian mega sales has gone international. A lot of people talk about the Malaysian mega sales and they come, the tourists comes here during the mega sales. We have seen results in terms of sales. So maybe by the year 2012, we can have a mega sports sales in conjunction with Sukma Games all over the country with schools, with associations, everybody participate. Ministry of Youth takes the lead. Look at the prices, look at what we can afford to give to the population. And this is what we should look forward to the year of 2012. With more manufacturers, there'll be a bigger opportunity for employment, especially for our youth population. It is said, I have to say, that most manufacturers, most retailers, wholesalers, importers, they don't look at the Malaysian sportsmen as their first line of offer of employment. Maybe it's because their margins are now. I think the attitude of the Malaysian sports company need to be changed. They need to support the industry, not only the industry, but the sportsmen. There'll be more manufacturers to support, sponsor local events and competitions. Manufacturers will not only look towards sponsorship of elite sports, but also take up the huge opportunity through mass sports, events of physical activity, of the other categories which we don't want to forget, which is also playing a very important role. The veterans, the women, children, Paralympics, all these categories need sports equipment. And they can also play a very big role for the business of the sports industry in Malaysia. With more sponsors, event managers will resort to organizing more creative sports, mass sports events throughout the country. We have a lot of events. And I have noticed that Malaysia is a favorite destination now for foreign event companies to come and organize a triathlon or 10K or eco challenge. Malaysia is a favorite destination now with all these event management companies. This is what we need, the commitment required from our government. A special business unit to be set up in the Ministry of Youth and Sports to help create job opportunities in the sports industry. The reason why I'm saying this, I was very frustrated when I was told to present a paper here just a few days ago. I was looking for some information of the industry, how much we export, or how much wholesale, retail business, or how much is manufactured in Malaysia. I've called relevant government departments and most of them couldn't give me any accurate information. So I think it's the right time today for the Ministry of Youth and Sports and our able minister to take the lead to give us this information in the market. A business unit, what I'm saying is not just looking at the business aspect of it. It can also be employment for the sportsmen. Because most of the sportsmen who goes to universities under government scholarship doing sports science or PE, the minute they finish their studies in the university or colleges, they're just left idle. Nobody's helping them to link themselves up with the sports companies or them where they can continue on to contributing to the sports industry. I mean, I have people writing to me from the Ministry of Defense when they reach after 40 years old for relocation to ask me if I can train them. But I never have any inquiries from sportsmen who has completed their studies to say if I can employ. So this business unit or the trade unit or commercial unit can look at various aspects of the business, the GDP, how to help the GDP, help the sportsmen, go into data, to keep some data for the industry because we are growing very big in Malaysia. So we need the Ministry of Youth and Sports to consider this to help the industry. And believe me, that will set the pace for us in the next few years. To encourage multinational companies to employ ex-sportsmen. I mean, at this moment, many of them are forced to take sportsmen. So maybe this unit can look at it, how they can encourage more multinationals to employ sportsmen. Government to give priority to local manufacturers for their purchase. Those who are doing a good job, who have quality, who has met up the international standard, they should be given a preference. Because if not, they're not going to invest their money. The most important is the domestic market. If they don't have a say in the domestic market, or they don't have an opportunity in the domestic market, how do you expect them to go and sell overseas? This is how FPT in Thailand has survived. It's a household name in Thailand. Sports entrepreneurs to provide soft loans for the ministry to consider to provide soft loans to sports entrepreneurs grants, startup capital, training, placement of sportsmen in companies. Now, Malaysia can achieve through these incentives to achieve a Malaysian sporting culture. Now, most of us don't talk about equipments. I mean, when we talk about Lee Chong Wei, Nicole David, we talk about good coaches, good nutrition, physiotherapists, what else? Sports science experts. But I think it's time we should also look at what equipments they get. Are they getting the best? We have to also look at it. And for them to perform for Lee Chong Wei or Nicole David, anybody, they need good shoes, good rackets to ensure that they deliver what has been invested in them. Very seldom anybody talks about equipments. So I think we need to look at that. In conclusion, I'm trying to keep it to my 20 minutes which is given to me. We are very, very fortunate that our government, especially the Ministry of Youth and Sports, is very supportive of sports in this country. I've traveled to many parts of the world, and I very proudly say the Ministry of Youth and Sports plays a major role in the growth of the sports industry in Malaysia. They set the trends, and most of us follow the trends that is set by the Ministry of Youth and Sports. They have played a major role to where Malaysia is today. We have a good national sports policy, a powerful cabinet committee or coordinating committee, especially between the relevant ministries, to ensure sports grows in the very positive manner. Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia to create a unit for this purpose, which I've identified earlier. This is very interesting. Ministry of Youth and Sports Malaysia to initiate a GLC to support the sporting goods industry. It is time we have a GLC in the sporting industry. We have Pamaniaga, we have Masiniaga in the respective industry. We have not so popular Pempena Consult in the tourism industry. So maybe it's time the Ministry of Sports consider a major GLC where every other sports company can have a share in it, and maybe this will help boost the sports industry in Malaysia. I think that is something which will go a long way. Finally, sports will always be an important aspect of the nation. My colleague, Dato, who's given me his starting word is inspiration, who's given me a lot of inspiration to be here. And I would like to do our part to put the nation on firm ground through sports. Thank you.